Thank you, Kelly. There's been a split decision in the SEC's civil complaint related to the failed 38 Studios deal. The bank that was the lead underwriter on the deal wanted the civil fraud complaint against them thrown out. And today a judge ruled on that, as well as charges against an individual banker. And Eyewitness News reporter Jared Planner was in federal court for the hearing and tells us what happened.
Steve, that's right. A hearing in federal court today where cameras are not allowed. And as you say, two significant decisions in yet another 38 Studios lawsuit. Tonight, a federal judge in Providence says the Securities and Exchange Commission civil fraud case against Wells Fargo Securities can go forward. The bank was the lead underwriter on the 38 Studios $75 million bond transaction. At the same time Friday, the judge threw out aiding and abetting charges against Wells Fargo banker Peter Canava. The SEC accuses Wells Fargo of misleading investors by, among other things, not disclosing the $50 million the company eventually got from the bond offering was $25 million short of what 38 Studios needed for its gaming project, and without it, the company was in danger of going bankrupt. Arguing before Judge John McConnell, attorneys for Wells Fargo said investors clearly knew Curt Schilling's company was a risky pre-revenue venture, with the SEC lawsuit now amounting to finger-pointing and Monday morning quarterbacking. But defense attorneys said the bondholders didn't care about 38 Studios' health. They cared about Rhode Island's finances and its ability to pay them, which the state has done and continues to do. Quote, they're not buying 38 Studios, they're buying bonds, and they haven't lost a penny. Though attorneys did reference the political scandal and public outrage, saying there's no doubt the Rhode Island taxpayers got a bad deal here. The SEC argued Wells Fargo's failure to disclose the $25 million funding gap and how it could lead to collapse amounted to simple and straightforward fraud. And the Rhode Island Commerce Corporation, also being sued, was told by 38 Studios on multiple occasions there was no doubt that without more money, the company would run out of cash by late 2011. And the SEC also charged Keith Stokes and J. Michael Saul, former officials at the Commerce Corporation, with aiding and abetting, and they have since settled with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, it is important to point out this is entirely separate from a case just across the street in state court that has been proceeding against the architects of the 38 Studios deal. That is set to go to trial in October. Coming up new at 6, reaction to today's rulings from outside court. For now, live with the Providence Mobile Newsroom, I'm Jared Planner, Eyewitness News.
New at 6, new reaction to a story that affects every Rhode Island taxpayer. A federal judge refuses to dismiss a lawsuit that accuses Wells Fargo of defrauding investors in the failed 38 Studios deal. Eyewitness News reporter Jared Planner is live from the Providence Mobile Newsroom with new reaction to today's decision.
Steve, it is important to note at the outset that this federal matter is completely separate from a case in state court against the architects of the 38 Studios deal, set to go to trial in October. Tonight, a federal judge says the Securities and Exchange Commission civil fraud case against Wells Fargo Securities, the lead underwriter on the 38 Studios bonds, can go forward. But the judge also ruled an individual defendant can be cut loose from the case, at least for now. The SEC had accused Wells Fargo banker Peter Canava of aiding and abetting his institution in misleading 38 Studios investors.
The allegations weren't sufficiently particular with respect to Mr. Canava.
He really had nothing to do with this. He was being scapegoated by the SEC. It's not his fault that the politicians made this deal with 38 Studios.
The SEC says Wells Fargo and the Rhode Island Commerce Corporation defrauded investors by, among other things, not disclosing the $50 million Curt Schilling's company would get from the bonds was $25 million short of what it needed to stay afloat. Defense attorneys say that fact did not matter to the bondholders, who were only interested in whether Rhode Island taxpayers could pay them. They have. And while Canava might be out of the lawsuit tonight, the judge's ruling was without prejudice.
Which means the commission can amend its complaint, and we will do so.
And the SEC had also charged Keith Stokes and J. Michael Saul, formerly of the Commerce Corporation, with aiding and abetting. They have both settled with the SEC. Live with the Providence Mobile Newsroom tonight, I'm Jared Planner, Eyewitness News.